Welcome to The Explainer. So what happens when the one path you've been preparing for just slams shut? Today, we're diving into the story of a student who faced exactly that. He turned a massive failure into a life-changing success, and he did it all in just 5 months.
But you know, this story doesn't really start with an exam score. It actually starts with this really powerful philosophy from a father to his son. Just a simple idea, really: pursue excellence in whatever you do. And that idea, it becomes the bedrock for everything that happens next.
Okay, so this philosophy guided a student named Surya. But his journey, well, it didn't start with a big win. It actually began with a pretty crushing disappointment after the super competitive JEE engineering entrance exam. So after not clearing the JEE, Surya was just lost. He was depressed, totally directionless, and it's a feeling a lot of students can probably relate to, right? When that one big plan you've had for years just falls apart, and you're left thinking, okay, what now? Now, instead of adding more pressure, which is what you might expect, his father did something completely unconventional. He saw his son was struggling, so he sent him on a 20-day trip to Manali and Ladakh. The goal? Not to study, not at all, just to clear his head. And this timeline here really shows that period of searching he went through. I mean, the trip gave him some breathing room, for sure, but the path forward wasn't just magically clear. He ended up enrolling in a Bachelor of Arts program, but he pretty quickly realized that neither the pure engineering path nor the pure humanities path felt like the right fit for him. So yeah, he felt stuck. Totally stuck. Right in the middle of his first year of college, he just knew he wasn't growing in the ways he wanted to. His critical thinking, that was getting better, but his logical reasoning felt like it had hit a wall. So how on earth did he find his way out of that?
Well, believe it or not, a random Google search changed everything. In that moment of just not knowing what to do, this search led him to something called the IPMAT program for management, and it was like a light bulb went off. He realized it was the perfect blend of the logical reasoning he was missing and the critical thinking he was already building. It was a path that, for the first time, just felt right.
Okay, so he found his goal. Fantastic. But there was one tiny problem. He only had 5 months to get ready for this super competitive exam. So the big question is, how did he possibly build a winning strategy from scratch in such a short amount of time? Well, his success was really built on this incredibly clear 3-step framework. And look, it wasn't about just studying for crazy long hours without a plan, no. It was all about being strategic. And it started with step 1, being brutally honest with himself about his own strengths and weaknesses. And this right here, this shows a really critical moment of adaptation for him. See, coming from a JEE background, Surya walked in feeling pretty overconfident about his math skills, but he realized, and fast, that IPMAT math was a totally different ballgame. It wasn't about deep, complex problem solving anymore. It was all about speed and shortcuts. So the crucial point is this: he was humble enough to admit he was overconfident. That's huge. He literally took a step back, completely changed his approach, and learned a whole new way to tackle the subject. That ability to just change gears, that was everything. Now, for the English section, his strategy was actually super simple, but really powerful. He just read constantly. But, and this is a big but, he didn't just read anything. He was very intentional. He chose impactful writers, explored all kinds of different genres, and really focused on texts that forced him to think critically. And finally, he practiced with purpose. This is so smart. He didn't just take mock exams to see what score he got. No, he used them like a diagnostic tool. He would analyze his results to pinpoint exactly which types of questions were tripping him up, so he knew exactly where to focus his energy. But look, having a killer strategy, that was only half of the equation. The other half was this absolutely remarkable environment of support and freedom that his father created for him. And that, right there, is what allowed him to really thrive. I mean, his father created an environment that was completely free from that intense, results-driven pressure that can so often just crush a student's potential and their passion. The focus was never on the rank. It was on the effort and on the joy of doing something well. And get this just brilliantly illustrates the incredible level of trust and autonomy Surya was given. His dad didn't even know which exam Surya had applied for until after he passed. Can you imagine? He didn't need to check report cards or approve his choices. He just trusted his son to find his own way. That allowed Surya to pursue his goals without any fear of judgment.
Now, don't get me wrong, this wasn't absentee parenting at all. It was supportive guidance. His dad would offer his perspective, for sure, but he ultimately empowered Surya to make his own decisions. He made it crystal clear that the final choice was his and his alone.
So with this incredible foundation, a smart strategy on one side and unconditional support on the other, getting into a top IIM, well, that wasn't the end of the journey for Surya. Not even close. For him, it was just a new beginning. And he actually identifies agility as the single most important trait for success, not just in the exam hall, but in life. And what does he mean by that? Well, it's that ability to stay humble, to learn super fast when you realize you're wrong, and to pivot without hesitating when you're up against a new challenge. And looking ahead, his goal isn't just to master one single field. Nope, he wants to explore all kinds of different industries, everything from food to finance. He wants to be a constant student of life. He really embodies that philosophy, where the journey itself is the real destination.
You know, Surya's story really challenges the conventional definition of success. It suggests that maybe it isn't just about getting a top score or landing a prestigious job. Maybe it's more about finding your own path, embracing the journey, and just never stopping that process of learning. And that really leaves us with one big question to think about. What does true success look like to you?